All right, guys, welcome back to the Let's Talk Ball pod. This is episode 12, and we're going to be reacting to Game Week 7 and looking ahead to Game Week 8. I'm back here with Spain. Spain, how you doing?
Good. I'm disappointed in my team's performance last weekend, but we got a win, an unconvincing win against Shakhtar Donetsk tonight on Tuesday, but I'll take it. But yeah, doing well other than
Nice. It's a rare weekend where I'm feeling good about my team's performance
that.
and you are not.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
point.
let's see. There's a lot of action this weekend, lots of red cards, some good matches. So let's jump into it. We could start with you. Let's talk about Arsenal versus Bournemouth. What did you think of that game?
A not fun watch at all. Just poor performance from the jump from Arsenal. We didn't look like we came out of the game into the game with that much confidence or desire to win. We just looked off of it, and then Saliba got a red card in the 30th minute. Took us down to 10 men. What is our third red card in 8 games? So hate to see that once again.
Mm,
Frustrating as an Arsenal fan to have to watch so many of our performances down a man. Just takes away from the enjoyment, and we can't really get into our rhythm and play the game we want to play. But coming into the game, the biggest talking point is whether Saka was going to be available to play. In our last pod, I felt very confident he was going to be ready based off of what the England manager said. He said he was questionable for the second England game at international break, and Saka always bounces back. So I thought for sure he was going to play, and we woke up or got news that he wasn't even in the squad, so he was not fit to play. So that was like the biggest talking point coming into the game. And once that, I still was confident that we were going to win and turn up, but just coming out of the game, it just looked like we weren't that focused for it. What were your thoughts in terms of that?
yeah, I think I also thought Saka was going to play just based on like everything that I'd seen. But I guess looking back, it is like, oh, I thought maybe they were resting for Champions League, but he didn't play today either. So I guess the injury was a little bit more serious than we initially thought, like you mentioned. But hopefully, they were really just trying to keep him healthy, looking ahead at like a potential title contender clash with Liverpool coming up on the weekend. I'm thinking maybe they just had Arteta had an eye on that and said we can afford to get by between these next two games without him.
That was my thinking too. Is what I'm hoping is what happened. We knew we were playing Shakhtar on Tuesday and didn't need Saka for that game. So yeah, I'm hoping Arteta just said, let's just play it safe. Let's make sure Saka comes in healthy and fully fit for the Liverpool match. But yeah, who knows? We'll keep monitoring that and see how he looks coming into the weekend. But yeah, going back to the game, we went down. We'll start with the red card. Was originally given as a yellow by the ref, and then VAR checked it and overturned it to a red. I don't really have too much complaints with it being a red card. I am more surprised that they changed it from a yellow to a red. I don't think it was a clear and obvious error that needed to be overturned based off how far Saliba was from the goal and how far Evan Nilsson was from the goal. So that was the most surprising thing to me. And even though Ben White wasn't close, I thought he still could have recovered and gotten across to put him off. But yeah, just based on the distance from the goal, I was surprised it was changed to a red. What were your thoughts on the red card?
Yeah, I remember looking at it and thinking, it doesn't look good, probably a red, but I think it was one of those ones where if they're sticking to the language of a clear and obvious error that VAR is used to intervene with, I don't think it was a clear and obvious error, like enough evidence to, it's like one of those ones where you stick with the call on the field, like you see that a lot in the
Hmm.
NFL. And so I figured it was going to be the same thing here, and it wasn't. I think that's what surprised me. But I guess at the end of the day, I understand why I was given a red card. Um, a thing that I thought was interesting, which I guess we'll probably touch on later, though, was like I think there was a very similar tackle or incident in the Chelsea game that was given a yellow. I haven't looked at that one closely enough to say like whether those were the exact same situation or not. I just kind of heard a lot of discourse about that and thought that was interesting. So definitely going to be a talking point moving forward. But I'm fortunate to see Saliba get that red card and it kind of changed the dynamic of the game, at least from an Arsenal perspective. I think for a neutral fan and rival fans, they were probably happy to see that happen. But it definitely did change the game completely.
Yeah. Guess I would just talk about the Cobble red card or yellow card for Chelsea since we're on the topic. Or no, the Tosin yellow card. But yeah, next day, of course, a very similar situation happens for Chelsea where the player gets played in, Tosin gets caught out and pulls down Jota and fouls him at midfield, and the ref gives him a yellow card. Tosin has no one to cover for him. Colwell's like a few yards behind, but Jota is in past midfield, and Tosin pulls him down, and the ref gives him a yellow with no VAR check whatsoever. So a very similar situation. There's arguments that Colwell could have caught Jota and could have covered, so that's a lot of the argument against it being a red card, but almost identical situation. I don't see there being enough of a difference for one to be given a yellow, one to be given a red, and much less for the yellow card for Tosin not even be checked by VAR.
Yeah. Yeah. I should have given it a little bit more look because I knew it was controversial and I assumed there's going to be some people arguing for both sides. But definitely, I do think Arsenal was a bit hard done by their call. But it is what it is. I thought even after the red card, I did think for some time that Arsenal looked pretty good. Like I thought they still had a chance to get something from the match, just because of how defensively sound you guys are. Even when you
Mm-hmm.
do go down to 10 men, you still have some giants, so you can load up the box, defend for your life, and then you have some good outlets. Like Kai Havertz is a great outlet to have. He can battle for clearance, those cleared balls and those balls down the field and things like that to help you guys kind of move up. So I was at least impressed. I missed a lot of the second half, but I was impressed with what I saw with like how you closed out the first half after the red card and a little bit of the beginning of the second half. But I guess it didn't end up staying great for you guys.
Yeah, it was really just a game of mistakes and us not being focused, in my opinion, because it was a Trossard back pass that was a really poor decision on his part. I don't know what he was thinking, that led to the red card. And then it was off a corner routine where we were down a man that led to
Mm-hmm.
Bournemouth's first goal. Really well worked routine, really
First,
good finish from blanking on the Bournemouth player's name, um, but Christie, I think maybe.
yeah,
But
it was
really
Ryan Christie. Yeah.
yeah, really good finish by him. But we just didn't have we were down a man in the box, so hard to defend that. They exploited it well. And then Kivior had a really bad back pass that led to the penalty. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that led to Raya's yellow card and him taking down, I think it was Evan Nilsson.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just a game of mistakes and us not being focused. Martinelli should have scored in the first half with a one-on-one when it was still at even, I believe, 11v11. Raya looked off of it. He was making some mistakes that he usually doesn't make. And yeah, just poor showing from us overall. I do wish Arteta would have us play a little more aggressively and offensively when we do go down a man the game's still when it's still tied. In the previous games with Reds, it was against Brighton we were up a man, so I get that going down or playing more defensively. And then
Mm-hmm.
City being already up, going down a man, I totally understand playing defensively there. But I guess it seemed like Bournemouth, when the game was even, I wish we would have had a few more attacking players on the field to try
Yeah.
and get the win, as opposed to just play
Mm-hmm.
for the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really all I
Yeah.
have from the game. Sleep is out for the next one, but we will talk about, which is unfortunate, I guess the big game is Liverpool, but we'll talk about that at the end of the pod for the preview for next weekend.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the game?
Um, yeah, not really. I have seen guess a few people talking about whether Arsenal should have been so defensive, should have sat so far back after, like you said, once they went down to 10 men, or whether they should have still went for it. Kind of hard to say. It's like one of those things where like hindsight 2020, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Whether like if it works, it looks like a genius. If it doesn't, it's like, oh, why didn't you do this? I thought Arsenal looked a little bit susceptible until I think they took Sterling off for Kiwior, I believe, to bring on an
Mm-hmm.
extra defender.
Yep.
Which I felt bad for Sterling because I think that was his first start for you guys. If it wasn't, it was
I think it was his
like
first start in the
August.
league.
Yeah, first start in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt bad for him, but at the same time, he did look a bit vulnerable prior to that sub. But it was Kyrgios error that led to another goal anyway. So like, what difference
Hmm.
did it really make? Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really have too many thoughts. Bournemouth is a good enough team to punish Arsenal for being down to 10 men. So not really shocked by the result given what happened in the game. But definitely unfortunate result for Arsenal. But
Yeah, enough
we
enough
can.
on my
Oh, you have
team.
more
Let's move
thoughts?
on. No, it's enough on
Yeah,
my team. Let's move on to yours.
nice. Yeah. So, in some positive news, United beat Brentford 2-1 this weekend. Um, I don't really know where to start. There was a lot of pressure on Ten Hag coming into this match. They really, really, really needed a good result, not just a draw, but they needed to win, and they were able to do that. So, as a United fan, I'm happy, and I think that releases a little bit of the pressure that was on Ten Hag's back. Obviously, if he goes and loses next weekend, it's right back on. But as far as what I saw from a United fan, I was happy. Did you see the Delict incident?
Yeah.
How that all went down?
Yeah, I saw him hurt his head and then have to go off like I think 3 or 4 times because he couldn't get his head to stop bleeding. And then yeah, I
Yeah,
saw him go off right before the corner kick that led to Brentford's goal.
yeah. So really nasty collision. I forget whose knee it was. I think it was
That's
Pinnick or
curious.
someone or shot. I forget who it was. Someone's knee to his head and split it open pretty bad, like a pretty bad collision, and they just couldn't quite get the bleeding to stop. And so, yeah, like you said, I think they had to ask him to come off the field 3 times to get it cleaned up. But on the third one, I think United was upset because the coaching staff and Delict were upset because he kind of had this. The rule is the ref played it by the rules, but I guess they're saying like the moment that he chose to, enforce it was an unfortunate one for United because he could have stopped the game, I guess, at other points to make him get cleaned up, but he chose when Brentford gets the corner, and Brentford on their set pieces is one of the most dangerous teams in the league, so they're
Hmm.
upset that he chose at that point right before half to make the lid go off, and then we had to defend the corner a man down, and they ended up scoring from it. And as a United fan, I think for me, I was it was just one of those things where it felt like we were playing all right that game, and I don't think Brentford necessarily deserved to be in the lead at that point. And so it was one of those situations where it was like, God, like we really just can't catch a break right now, you know?
Hmm.
And so to see us come out strong in the second half and Rashford and Garnacho connect for that goal to kind of even things up right away really was a huge, huge relief off of our shoulders. And I think it really kind of set the tone for the rest of the second half, which I think we performed really well in. It was probably, I don't know if it was our best 45 minutes of the season, but up there with like some of our best performances that I've seen us put on so far as a half, and hopefully we can turn that into 90-minute performances and not just 45 minutes soon. But that's kind of what I saw from the game. What about you?
Yeah, I have the same thought that United are just getting so unlucky, and almost laughed to myself that they did score right when Delic went off, because I think he probably would have defended that. He probably would have been like in that position or right around there.
Hmm.
I don't think the ref did anything too wrong. I mean, I think it's kind of on the medical staff to like not put a bandage on, or I've seen people put
Hmm.
caps on his head, on
Hmm.
their heads. The fact that it took him that long to get him to stop bleeding, you either gotta like fix it or sub him off at that point if it's like turns into that big of an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, just unfortunate with how it happened. Yeah, I thought United fought back well. Garnacho's been playing well. Looks like he's got the starting position locked down. That was his fourth start in a row in the league. So any thoughts on him getting that position locked down? Because it looks like Ahmad's been dropped to the bench, right?
Yeah. Ahmad's been dropped to the bench because Rashford is in sneaky good form, doesn't quite have the goal involvements to like show how well I think he's been playing, in my opinion. I think he's been playing even better than Garnacho has. Garnacho is just kind of the one that's at the end of the goals at this moment.
Hmm.
But I do think at the beginning of the season, I thought it was best to start Ahmad just because of like the control that he can bring. He's a little bit more of like he brings a little bit more calm, a little bit more um, I don't know how technicality to the side. Like I guess Garnacho and Rashford are both lethal or more lethal in front of the goal, but Ahmad's a really tidy player. But I think part of the reason why Garnacho and Rashford both starting has worked is because we brought in Ericsson into the midfield, which is someone that offers a lot more control from that position and a lot more calmness into the team. So it's kind of like we took our calm player from playing on the right wing to playing in the midfield, and that way we can fit Garnacho and Rashford into the same front line. And I thought one of my biggest takeaways from the game was our front four looked really well and was working really well between Hoyland at striker, Garnacho off the left, Rashford off the right, and then Bruno at the 10 right behind Hoyland. I thought that was some of the best our attack has looked this season. And in my opinion, it was Hoyland's best performance in the Premier League as a player and one of his top three performances as a player for us in general. I think he did a lot of really, really good things. His hold up play was good. I can't count how many times he was able to receive the ball back to goal and turn his defender and then distribute it out to most of the time it was Garnacho on that left hand side. And Hoyland just looked really strong. And I'm really glad he got a goal to show for it as well.
Hmm.
He's proven to be a lethal finisher if we can get him the chances. We're still not getting him the ball, I think, as much as we should, but I'm pretty sure he's got 15 goals off of 15 or 16 goals off of 13 point something XG. He's got like 10 goals, I think, in the league off of 8 point something XG. So he's overperforming in his XG. His finishing is consistently good at this moment. And so I think he's someone that is a top player. He just kind of gets clowned because his stats haven't been there. But I think it's more of a result of the system than him not being a good player himself. So that made me really happy to see from my perspective.
Yeah, I was impressed with Hoyland and really impressed with his finish. That was a really well taken goal. And I remember a
Mm-hmm.
couple weeks ago on the pod, I mentioned that I didn't think he was a good finisher, and you corrected me, and you disagreed and said you thought he was. He just wasn't getting the shots, and I kind of took a second to think and agreed that it's more on the fact that he hasn't got many shots and the fact that he has scored 15 goals and off of 13 XG, like you mentioned. They do just need to get him the ball more and get him more shots somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to see if he can get more goals based off of more chances being created for him. Because if he
Yeah,
can continue to finish based off of his 15 goals per 13 XG and based off of what I saw over the weekend, it'll be huge for United because they do need more goals from the striker position.
definitely. At the beginning of the season, I was predicting that he was going to be our top goal scorer in the league. So I think if he can stay healthy, that will come true. And I'm excited because I think one part that he was weak at last season that prevented him from being able to kind of make an impact on games and get involved as much is his back to goal play, being able to receive deep and then turn his defender and distribute just wasn't quite there. He was struggling too much and doing too much wrestling with the defender, not being able to win the ball cleanly. And he even touched on that point, and I think it was his post match interview from this game. He said, "I just felt like I was able to get the ball to feet and wasn't focusing as much on winning the physical battle with the defender and rather just focusing on getting the ball and being able to do something with it when I get it." And so if he can keep that up, I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he's a really, really good player. Um, and it is going to be up to him to be able to get into positions to receive the ball. But I do hope that we start to figure out that dynamic a little bit between Rashford, Garnacho, Hoyland to see where those touches are going to go. Because right now it seems like Rashford's taken a little bit of a backseat in the shot department. Garnacho has started in one or two fewer games than Rashford, but has 15 more shots than him this season or something crazy.
Garnacho takes a
Um,
ton of shots.
oh yeah, he
I
does.
think he had
I
eight.
mean,
I think he
that's
had 8 this past game,
I mean, I wouldn't be
which is
surprised. I
crazy.
mean,
Yeah.
it's nuts. I mean, the guy, it's why I love him to death. Like he's a goldfish out there. Like it doesn't matter how many shots he misses, he will as soon as he gets the ball, he's gonna take his defender on, he's gonna try and create something, he's gonna try and score. Like he truly thinks that he's gonna score every single time he touches the ball.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it can be frustrating to see, but he's young, he's still a bit raw, and I do think the goals I still think even this season, I think he could if United can get our attack clicking, I think he could be a 12 to 15 goal in the league player just at the rate that he's shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. His shot numbers are up there for sure. Needs to speak some of those words into Hoyland and tell him how to get his shot numbers up.
Well, unfortunately, Garnacho is one of the main players that's
Yeah.
responsible for passing to Hoyland, which is
Yeah.
part of the
Exactly.
issue. So they're going to have
Maybe
to work
Hoyland.
that
Yeah.
out. but hopefully they can figure that out. But overall, like I said, good performance from the team. It was interesting to see Lissandro Martinez play at left back and see that role that he played. Nothing to write home about, but it did kind of calm my concerns about what we're going to do without Mazraoui being healthy. And then another performance I wanted to shout out was what was I going to say? Oh, Delict. Even with all like the head stuff going, I think that was one of his best performances in a United shirt as well. So a lot of positives to take from that game as a United fan, both on an individual level and a system level. Things look good. Things look like they clicked. So I'm excited to see how we look against West Ham, and hopefully we can finally, fingers crossed, string together a couple good performances in a row and not just have it be one performance here and then two steps back in the next match. So fingers crossed for this upcoming weekend and for our Europa League game this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested to see is the game against West Ham to see if you guys can have two good performances back to back because the West Ham game is definitely a winnable game for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we shall see whether there is some momentum there or not.
Yeah. Another thing to note that I think will be interesting. I wish I put a little bit more thought into it before, but I just remember that we're playing Fenerbahce this week in the Europa League, and so that'll be Jose Mourinho, and it'll be Fred and Amrabat, a couple ex-United players against United this week, which will be fun to see. But Bruno is suspended due to getting a red card in our last Europa League match, so it'll be really interesting to see how we cope without him. I'm not sure who's going to come into the side, whether it's going to be Ericsson stepping up to play that 10 role, or what I would love to see as an experiment is Xerxes at the 10, Hoyland at 9 to see how they play together at the same time on the field. But that'll just be something interesting to watch from a United perspective.
Nice. Yeah, I might actually tune into that game then with Jose being there. Is it home or away?
It's away, so it's at
Oof,
Fenerbahce, so it could
that's
be a
gonna be
hostile
tough.
environment. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a tough one.
those stadiums are always jumping over there. They take their football very seriously.
Definitely.
Nice. But that's all in United. We can move on to our next game. And the next one was Spurs versus West Ham. This was the early game on the weekend, I believe. Did you see any of that yourself?
Yeah, I turned the game on. Um, I thought Tottenham looked good in the second half, particularly. They started off slow. I thought West Ham looked really good to start the game. They were really playing some triangles around on the right side. They were passing around Udogi really easily, and Spurs didn't look on it, and West Ham did. They got the first goal. Kudus scored. But then in the second half, Ange took off Madison, made some good changes, and Tottenham looked a lot stronger in the second half, and West Ham fell apart. Was my overall thoughts on it.
Nice. I didn't really see any of the game. I just saw some of the highlights, but it sounded like a typical Spurs game where they might give up a goal, but the Spurs, if there's one thing that they're going to do, they're going to score goals. There's going to be goals involved in their matches. And so it sounds like Andrew's able to make some good adjustments, like you said, and kind of really take over that game. And they didn't really look back after they were able to equalize and then eventually go on to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I thought they looked poor, but they turned it around and got control and finished off their chances well. Um, I'm trying to think of who all scored for Tottenham. I know Son did.
Kulusevski had a nice goal for himself, right? I think he had one where he just kind of carried into the box and then left foot, just good hit.
Yep, Kulusevski's been on it. It's nice that they have Son back, who's definitely an upgrade on Timo Werner. Son did not get the assist for a goal. I know that was taken, or at least in fantasy, it was taken away a day or two late.
Hmm.
But he created a goal and scored a goal. So yeah, things are just looking
Yeah.
solid
I
for
think
Tottenham.
I
They're
think
getting in the right
Basuma had a
direction.
nice goal as well. I didn't see
Yeah,
it, but I heard his goal was nice.
he scored, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's not coming to
Gotcha.
me.
Yeah. Basuma had a goal. It was Kulusevski in the 36th, Basuma in the 52nd, Areola own goal. And then Son had his nice kind of step over,
Yeah,
shift
near
onto the left, and
post.
then nice finish. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was a good goal from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then end of the game, there was that moment with Kudus just kind of losing his head completely. I'm not really sure what happened leading up to that, to why he was so hot, but that was a little ridiculous from him.
Yeah, it sounds like he's just frustrated in general with West Ham. I know not to start the season, but around like week 2 or 3, he wasn't starting, and there was talks
Mm,
about him and Lopetegui not getting along. So I think it's him
mm,
a lot of frustration because he scored, and then them going down. I think he's just frustrated. But I can't remember who
gotcha.
tack. Oh yeah, he stepped over Van de Ven and definitely didn't kick him, but was like stepping over him, getting really close, like stepping on his hands, stepping on him. Van de Ven didn't like that,
Hmm.
said something to him, and Kudus went straight for his face. Van de Ven fell
Hmm.
over. Someone back, Richarlison was on. Richarlison backed into someone. Someone backed into Richarlison. He just fell over,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah, that
best
was
part of it.
funny.
And then the screen cap, the freeze frame with them both on the ground in the same exact position.
Yeah.
Richarlison is wanting to get involved. He's just what a character that guy is. But that was the highlight of that. But then Kudus
Yeah.
is both those guys on the ground. Kudus puts his hands in another person's face. The ref gives him
Hmm.
yellow, goes to VAR, sees a clear red, clear red. Yeah, I don't know what Kudus was thinking.
Yeah.
But
I don't
Richarlison
know what he was
was the
thinking.
highlight.
Yeah, Richarlison was funny. I forgot about that. Man, it was good. Good content all around, honestly. Like, don't like
Hmm.
to see the violent outbreaks in the game, but it was just kind of like one of those chaotic moments, like what is going on? And then seeing Richarlison catch a stray was the icing on the cake.
Yep, yep. It wasn't even like too violent or anything, but it was some good entertainment for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on from that game, let's talk about Fulham versus Villa. I didn't see a lot of this game. I tuned in time to see Jimenez's goal.
Hmm.
I thought it was, good from him to score again. You made the shout a couple weeks or maybe a week or so ago saying Jimenez is on fire. Wanted to watch an FPL. I think he scored a good free kick for Mexico
Yeah, it was a
over the
banger.
international break. And then before that, he had that nice flick or back heel, whatever that was, in the
Yeah.
City match to set up a goal for, I forget who it was in their previous match. So he's a man in form. I'm honestly really happy to see him back in form. He's someone that's always been a quality player, just couldn't quite stay healthy, and I think injuries have held him back from a move to an even bigger club.
Hmm.
So good to see that he's kind of firing in a rhythm now. But unfortunately, Villa were the team to come out on top in this one, 3-1.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of Jimenez, it's great to see him because there was in form and confident again. Because there was like a 3 year period after his big head injury where he just looked off of it. You could tell something was wrong, and for being a great player that he is and a fun player to watch, it's good to see him back. And that was just kind of a confidence goal. I thought he ran down the ball, used his strength to push off the defender, hold off the defender, win the ball, and just score. So you got to see that confidence from a player like him. Was hoping Fulham would perform better, but yeah, Rogers immediately scored after that off of a lucky deflection. We'll take that for the
Mm-hmm.
fantasy points, which were desperately needed for me this weekend. I think you have them too, and you desperately needed the points as well. Watkins scored a really great header off a near post, near post corner, and then there were two more red cards in this game. Neither of them were anything like terrible. Watkins took a good touch across Anderson, who brought him down, but nothing intentional there, but was a red card. And then
Yeah,
Philogen got a late second yellow for Villa, which I don't think was a yellow. It was pretty harsh. But tons of
yeah,
red this weekend.
he got two yellows in like 5 minutes, unfortunately for
Yeah, they
him.
got subbed on.
Yeah, he got subbed on in the 60th, so he was on for a while before getting the yellows, but still unfortunate to see get those yellows back to back. I didn't see
Hmm.
how he got the first one. I saw the second one and like I guess I get it, but still unfortunate for him being such a young player trying to make an impact on his team, kind of break
Yeah.
into the team. Um, Not what you want to see, or like not great for his rhythm that he's trying to get into the squad.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I think he got super unlucky in that second yellow. It was hardly a foul. The Fulham player, I forget who it was, took more of a dive than anything. So I don't think
Hmm.
that was deserved. But yeah,
Gotcha.
these refs are happy to give out reds this season. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. I don't know what if it's like new instruction from the PGMOL or something, but it seems like the red cards are flying.
They are.
Let's see. Let's move on to Newcastle versus Brighton. This is one I wasn't clocked into. I saw some people texting about it in the group message, and everyone was saying Newcastle were looking um, pretty mid, unfortunately for them. It seems like I've been watching their games, and it just seems like they're missing a little bit of the it factor, a little bit of the star factor or something. I'm just not sure what it is, but it just seems like they really needed to improve their squad over the summer. And I think when we talked about our transfer window review, we ranked them pretty low. I think we gave them a C or D just because they didn't really make any needle moving moves, and they actually gave away two of their most talented youngsters in Elliot Anderson, who looked really, really good for Forest on Monday, and
Hmm.
then Yakuba Minta, who has been actually playing for Brighton now, um, and they look like they could really use something to help them out because they just doesn't seem like they have goals in them, and it seems like they're able to give up goals decently easily right now. So
Yep, Isak had a good shot that hit the post, so he was came close to scoring. This is his first game back after a few weeks, so maybe it just takes him to find some more rhythm because
hmm
he does create so much and create so many goals for himself and goals for others. So maybe that's a big part of it, and because also Callum Wilson is also injured, so they really didn't have a true striker for the past few weeks. So
that's fair.
maybe with Isak being back, they'll find the rhythm. But yeah, they just, like you said, look a little stale. I feel like Bruno Guimaraes has not been on it this season. Not that I've been
hmm
watching them that closely, but just haven't heard much chatter about him.
hmm
So yeah, we'll see if they start turning things around. But yeah, a little stale right now.
You're right. I did have that game on for a second. I did see Anthony Gordon had a pretty big chance as well that he ended up missing.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for him, I think he was like one on one with the keeper. Just one of those ones where like you'd expect him to score that. I think on most days, and he didn't score. So I do think Newcastle were a bit unlucky to lose this one 0-1. But hopefully they can kind of figure it out. I do think they still have enough talent in the team to be a bit of a problem for other teams this season. So I don't
Yep.
think their current form is representative of what they will be for the rest of the season. But also shout out to Danny Welbeck scoring again. He's a man in form. He did unfortunately have to leave the game with an injury. It looked like he took like a knee to the back that just I guess was way more painful and way more dangerous than it initially looked because it didn't look like anything too crazy when I saw it. But I did see he already released an update after the game saying we've already taken some initial tests, run some scans, and it looks fine. I should be back in training maybe even as soon as this week. So,
Oh, good. Yeah.
so I think it's not too big of an injury and should be all right there.
Nice. Yeah, because it seems like we've been talking about him every week, which I love talking about him. So I'm glad he'll be back soon and back to scoring goals. And he's a great professional. So I'm glad to hear it's nothing too serious.
Yeah, man's got 5 goals and 1 assist in 8 games so far in the league, which is really, really good for a 33-year-old Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Proven to be a really important player for Brighton. And then another player I wanted to shout out for Brighton. I'm not sure. He guess he was the assist to Danny Welbeck on the goal. Is Jorginho Ruder?
Hmm.
He was one of their signings. I hadn't, to be honest, heard of him prior to them signing him, but I've seen a couple highlights of his recently. He looks like a really good player, like kind of an exciting player, like a little dribbly, like good quick feet, especially for his size. Like I feel like he's not like a tiny player, so I think he's a player to watch out for this season. He could kind of be an exciting player that can produce some highlight moments for Brighton this season.
Yep, I thought he's looked good and has been a good signing for Brighton.
Nice. Okay, what do we got up next?
Next, we got the Southampton Leicester game. It's a battle of two teams at the bottom of the league. It was an exciting game, actually. Southampton went up 2-0, and then Leicester battled back and got a late winner at the death to steal all 3 points away from Southampton, which is going to come up
Wow.
big at the end of the season in terms of the relegation battle.
Yeah, so right. Huge result for Leicester. I thought Southampton was going to do it. Even coming into the game, I had picked Southampton. Um, and to go up 2-0 that early, and then Bonanote seems like he's a man on fire. Great signing for Leicester, and
Mhm.
kind of brought them back into the game with Jamie Vardy Penn taking very, very well. He's I don't know if he's traditionally a great penalty taker. Not that I'm saying he's bad, but I haven't watched many of his. But the way he hit that, it looks like he's one of the best penalty takers in the world. and just like the confidence with which he stepped up. It was just looked like it was never a doubt, which I thought was great to see. Southampton got a red card in the 73rd. I think it was Ryan Fraser. So that was kind of, I think, what aided in Leicester getting back into the game
Yeah,
to
that
win
was
3-2.
that was for the penalty.
That was for the penalty. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, I
Jamie,
missed that one.
it deflected. It was off a corner or something, and Jamie Vardy was in the 6 yard box about to pass the ball in the net, and Frazier pulled his shirt back and stopping Vardy from getting to the ball. And the ref didn't call it, but VAR noticed it, so it was a good call by VAR because it clearly stopped Vardy from having an easy goal. And
Nice.
I think
So
Vardy's
seems
a
like,
great penalty taker, full of confidence, and always smashes it, and as he
yeah,
did, and just finished it.
yep. So seems like a relatively easy game. Interesting to know. I mean, I guess maybe it was because of the red card at the end. I'm not sure what it ended up like if it was 11v11. But interesting to note that Leicester actually outpossessed Southampton 60-40. I think Southampton typically is able to maintain more possession. Whether it's good possession or not is another thing, but they are typically able to maintain more possession than their opponents. So I thought that was interesting to see from Leicester that they were able to do that and eventually get away with the win. But did you have anything else from this game?
No, the only thing is I was just really excited to see them get that late winner because I picked them to win in my sleeper league, my pick 'em that I'm doing this season. So that's still going strong. So I was really excited to see that go in and get that late win.
Nice. Nice. Let's see. Speaking of the other promoted side, the next game was Ipswich versus Everton. That one ended up 0-2 in favor of Everton. Nothing too shocking, in my opinion, from this game. I think Ipswich put up a decent fight. I don't think it shows in the scoreline, but I think they did all right. They were able to get 13 shots, two big chances created against Everton, 1.25 expected goals, but just could not seem to find the back of the net, unfortunately. And then Everton was able to score twice. I didn't see how those goals happened. Did you see any in this game?
No, I didn't see any of this game, but I think Everton's getting better as we've been talking about, and Ipswich are just not able to get. They're looking all right, but not able to get any results really. So I wasn't too
Yeah.
surprised by Everton. Actually, no, I did see some goals. Michael Keane scoring the crazy left weak foot volley or half volley, which was quite impressive. So the people in fantasy, they got a Michael Keane goal and clean sheet for a 13-pointer, some of which got him off the bench for autos over Saka. Quite lucky, but you take it.
Hmm.
And then I can't
Yeah.
remember who scored the other goal for Everton, but yeah, not
It
surprised
was
Everton won.
other goal was India.
Okay, yeah, I thought he's
Yeah,
been
he
good this.
scored pretty early on.
Thought he's been good this season. But yeah, just Everton pretty comfortable. Win to nil.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm kind of glad to see that they're hopefully finding a bit of form because the start to the season was definitely very rough for them. And I keep harping on how they don't look great without Branthwaite, but seems like they're still figuring it out even without him, and hopefully going to get even stronger once he gets back.
Yep, yep.
Nice. Let's see. Following that game up, then let's move on to Wolves versus Manchester City. This one ended 2-1 in favor of City. Wolves actually started the game really well, in my opinion. They came out to an early lead thanks to what's his name, Larson. What's his full name?
Strand
Henrik
Larson,
Strand Larson.
yeah,
So
or that's
good to
his
see
last
the
name, hyphenated last name.
yeah, Strand Larson. So good to see them come out to an early lead. I do think they are a better team than what they've been able to show in the league. They just have had such a rough go at it as far as fixtures go to start the season, and a bit of bad luck. But City was City. They pretty much dominated this game. Wolves were trying to soak up pressure and hit them on the counter, but City were able to kind of control the game, have their will. Gvardiol scored a really, really good goal for any type of player, but for a defender especially, and with his weak foot. Kind of a nuts finish. He's turning into, I think he has always been a nuts player, but I think he's starting to gain more confidence, starting to really understand what Pep wants from him, and really, I think, starting to let his swagger show a little bit with the way that he plays, the shots that he's taken. So good to see him growing in confidence. And then in the 90th plus five, John Stone scoring another clutch goal at the end of the match where they've kind of been knocking on the door, but haven't been able to break through. He's done it again. This one was a little controversial, though. Did you see how that all went down?
Yeah, they originally did not give the goal. The ref, I mean, it looked like they scored. Then the ref took a second to think about it for some reason. Maybe talked to the side official, and they called it off because of an offside on Bernardo Silva. Reviewed it and then saw that Bernardo was out of the way, not in the field of vision, by the time that Stones had to the ball. I think it was the right call. I think no issues at all with that goal standing. I think it should have stood. Just frustrating that City are getting these late winners when was hoping
Yeah.
I was feeling good that they were going to drop 2 points when we dropped all three.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I mean, that's what champions do. They get those results in games that matter, and they get those clutch moments. But I do think City have been a little bit lucky and kind of holding on just barely without Rodri and De Bruyne. Like even in this game, yeah, they dominated possession and they had a bunch of shots, but they had zero big chances created from 22 shots. So it seems like the shots that they were taking weren't super quality, not like clear cut chances. Seems like they were struggling to create those. So I think that's definitely has to do with no De Bruyne, who seems to be their main creative force in their team. And Rodri would kind of step up there here and there as well. But without those two, it seems like they're kind of lacking answers. People have tried to say, oh, throw Phil Foden in at the 10, which they've done. But at the same time, I don't think Phil Foden is that creative force in the team either. He's more of a shooter, more of a second striker, box crasher, and not so much the guy that's playing that killer ball that's setting up the big chances. So good on City for kind of holding on, but I do think there are some chinks or some cracks in their armor. But they're holding it together.
Yeah, their passing is definitely not there. They've lost a lot of their creativity and just passing ability without Rodri and De Bruyne, as you mentioned. And then it looks like Gundogan's just off of it as well. Looks like he's just getting up there in age and is allowing these teams to counter on them a lot easier as opposed to when they had Rodri in there. So these teams, I mean,
Yeah,
City haven't kept it clean in a long time because these teams are able to counter and create big chances, and they're giving them up. So
exactly.
teams can get after them, and then if they do score first, they're able to sit in like Wolves did and make it really difficult for City to create chances, which is what we're seeing happening right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to cover the same ground that Rodri's been able to cover, and Kovacic and Gundogan, as good as they are on the ball and as players, they just aren't that same guy as Rodri and not able to fulfill the role at the same level.
Yeah, yeah, you're going from a Ballon d'Or favorite to Kovacic and an aging
Yeah,
Gundogan.
exactly. Exactly. And no disrespect to them because they are good players, it's just
Yeah,
not the same thing.
no, definitely not the same caliber. Yeah, I
But
think that's enough.
unfortunate for Wolves again.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
they're
gonna say
catching
unfortunate for
tough
Wolves
breaks.
again to catching another tough break. But hopefully they got a game upcoming against who is it this weekend?
Brighton.
I think the upcoming game is against Brighton. So I think that is a winnable game, or at least a game where they can get a draw, which I think that they've failed to do so
No,
far.
they're on 1 point, so they've
One
gotten one
point, sorry.
draw.
So they got
Yeah,
one draw.
yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully they can break out of that because I do think they're a better team than what they've been able to show with the results so far. But yeah, that's
hmm
all on that. We can get to our premier game of the weekend. That was Liverpool versus Chelsea. What did you think of that match?
It was an exciting game. Not quite. My expectations were super high going into the game. The quality wasn't quite there for what I was hoping for, but it's still a really fun end-to-end game. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I expected maybe a few more goals, but can't complain from a neutral standpoint. There were some penalty controversies that made it exciting. Yeah, it was, and some yellow card, red card controversies. A lot of good talking points in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Like we touched on it earlier, there was the Tosin tackle that was given a yellow pretty early on, and then there are honestly like a few different shouts for penalties at the very beginning of the game. There was one that was obviously given on Colwill, that Salah took the penalty and finished to give Liverpool the lead in the first half. But even prior to that, I think it was prior or right after, there was Jadon Sancho got kicked or got stamped on, I believe, by Trent, but they didn't end up giving that. I think I don't know if it was a VAR decision or a ref on field decision, but they ended up not giving that as a penalty. And then there was another penalty shout before the beginning, like during the stoppage time, right before halftime, and that one was on Robert Sanchez coming out trying to block the ball, and he got just enough of the ball to not get called for a penalty there.
Hmm.
So that was definitely a lot. I guess a lot of referee controversy and intervention in that first half, and just a lot of
Hmm.
chaos. And at least it was how it felt to me. I wasn't
Yep.
super locked in for parts of the game, but it just felt a little bit chaotic going back and forth, and I guess exciting for a neutral.
Yeah, there was also a incident where Mo Salah went down that he was trying to get a foul for, but I think it was more just like the chaos of the game and the fact that there was already a penalty given. But
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
it was more of a dive on Salah. He was waiting for the contact and threw himself. He didn't
Hmm.
throw himself to the ground, but he was waiting for it and fell over. So I thought it was more of a
Yep.
dive than it wasn't much of a penalty shout. I thought the ref got it right. VAR got it right by overturning the penalty on Sanchez on
Hmm.
Curtis Jones. I thought he did win the
Yep.
ball, and then Curtis Jones more ran into him, and it looked worse the way he flipped over him. I know a lot of
Yeah.
Liverpool fans thought it should have been a foul because he didn't get enough of the ball, but I don't see that being a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. I agree with that. I thought the ref made good decisions all around. I thought Colwell's early on that was called a pen was a pen, even though some Chelsea fans were complaining about that. And then, like you said, I think they made the right call to overturn that call. Right call on Salah, who was kind of looking for the contact at that point. The one I don't quite remember is the Sancho incident with Trent, but I don't like Jadon Sancho, so fuck it. Um, and then I did want to, as a United fan, I loved that I started seeing some Jadon Sancho slander from Chelsea fans themselves. He had his first stinker for Chelsea, got hooked at halftime for Pedro Neto. Um, Funny enough, I think this guy's name is like Dino or Dino CFC, was talking about how United sold the best associate winger in the Premier League for 25 mil or something like that, and was clowning us. And the same guy tweeted saying like, "Come on, Jaden, like I just need you to get out of like," basically saying like you only have one gear, and that's something that United fans have been complaining about for years. And I'm glad that they're starting to see it as well. And like, yeah, he's a good player, but there are limitations to his games, and there's a reason that we sold him or wanted to sell him. I'm kind of glad that Chelsea fans are starting to see the light there. We're not just getting all this, oh, Jadon Sancho is this, Jadon Sancho is that, talk on Twitter.
Hmm. Yeah, I thought Neto looked really good when he came on, and definitely was made more of a factor with his dynamic running ability, how fast and powerful he is. He put in one really good cross in the second half that
Hmm.
Nkuku almost got on the end of. It was really close to having a really nice goal, almost
Yep.
similar
Yep.
to Saka assist to Martinelli, I believe, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep. I
overall, I was
remember. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, I thought Chelsea looked good. I thought they were slightly better. I thought a draw would have been pretty fair on balance. But I say I was slightly more impressed with Chelsea than I was with Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was going to be the game played out pretty similar to how I figured it was going to be. I think both teams are going to look pretty susceptible to being scored on. It was going to be a bit exciting just because both teams have such good players that the quality was going to kind of shine through and the chances would be there. I think out of players that I was most impressed with, I think Curtis Jones put had like a really good performance. He seemed like he was kind of bossing that midfield, and I don't know how sneaky it was because I know people were talking about it on football Twitter, but I don't think I had many like of my friends or like casual fans really speaking about it. But Cole Palmer had a bit of a stinker. Not like a stinker, but maybe by his standards, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just like he wasn't like I just there's only a few moments that I can think of that he really like had a big impact on the game. Other than that, I think he left a little bit more to be wanting there, but I think it's just because of such a high standard that he's been able to set for himself over the last few weeks.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't creating like the numerous chances he usually does. I only saw him have one really good chance, I think, where he received the ball in the box, held his run a little bit, and then tried to curl at far post or kind of like do that instep pass. Not as much a
Mm.
curl, but more like a pass into the far
Hmm.
post, which he usually scores, but he missed. But yeah, I thought he just had a quiet game and went missing for for parts of the game and just wasn't as creative as he usually is.
Yeah.
But Nico Jackson, he's scoring a lot, and
Hmm.
his confidence is there. He's scoring really well. He took his goal really well. So yeah, he's a man in form right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I did want to shout out Nico Jackson as well. Kind of glad to see him uh, kind be able to finish a little bit more, get more involved with the goals this season. Because I think last season he was putting himself in the positions, just not able to finish as consistently. So it's been nice to see him kind of be able to put some stuff in the back of the net, show his confidence, show his quality, and hopefully stop a bit of the slander. Because as much as I think it's fun to make fun of Chelsea players, I do think he gets a little bit too much stick. I do think he's a really quality player that offers a lot.
Yeah, and thankfully, switching up a little bit, but thankfully for Curtis Jones, he did score his chance because if he didn't, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would have been on him, even though he played well, because he took his time. He had three big chances in the game and seemed to really take his time in the box. Two of them, one of them he got smothered. The second, I think he had three. One he got smothered. The second one, which led to the penalty, which wasn't given. He just took too many touches, and then on his third
Hmm.
goal, the ball came in, and he took a touch when he could have finished it first time, which I thought he should have, but he just about got there before Robert Sanchez did. Ended up turning into a nice finish, but he almost got caught taking too many touches in the box three times in a row where he should have scored.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I remember especially the second one against Sanchez. I remember thinking like, ah man, just hit it, like kind
Yeah.
of looked like he was like looking for the contact rather than like to actually score.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, any more thoughts from that game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was entertaining game. Nice way to end the Sunday morning at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess from my perspective, didn't really teach me too much other than, shout out to Chelsea for putting on a good performance at Anfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of, I think seeing something like that, it was kind of weird because I think both teams kind of walked away a little bit satisfied from that match because Chelsea put on a good performance on the road, despite the probably disappointing result for them. But then Liverpool, although I thought Chelsea looked a bit better than they did, Liverpool can finally say, "Hey, we beat someone like we beat a good team." Because I
Mm-hmm.
think that was kind of their issue for a lot of the games leading up to this is that they haven't played anyone. So the first test of the season, they were able to pass, get a result from. So positives to take for both teams.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think it's a good way to sum it up.
Nice.
And then we had one final game with a Monday kickoff between Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. Even though it was only a 1-0, it was more exciting in my opinion. Forest had the game wasn't the most exciting, but Forest had a lot of chances. They all fell to
Hmm.
Chris Wood, who's the man in form. He scored for them. He's on fire right now. He loves to just play in between the post, right around the 6 yard box, getting onto crosses. And he had at least three, four good chances, either like a diving header or like that
Hmm.
lunging, where he's just like sticking out a foot just to get a touch on to try and knock it past the keeper. That's his kind of specialty at the moment. But he's looking really good, hogging all the chances, and a great pick in fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have been watching enough Forest because this is the first Forest I've seen. Not the first Forest I've seen this season. I've watched a few of their games, but I guess he just stuck out to me a lot this game. Like you said, I thought he played really well. His goal, I thought he took it really well. The ball kind of fell to him in they won the ball back up high, or I forget how they won the ball back, but long story short, the ball kind of fell to him in a place where you think maybe he takes a touch and tries to settle it, but he just hit it, made really good
Yeah,
contact. And Dean Henderson maybe could have done a little bit better, but at the same time, I understand why Dean Henderson might not have been prepared to like have to go down that quickly, because he did make really good contact, and it was like Chris Wood. I don't think scores many goals from outside the box either.
Yeah.
I heard the interviewer, one of the reporters afterwards, was teasing him about that, and Chris Wood
Hmm.
was like, "Hey man, I scored one from outside the box last season, man. Don't
Yeah.
forget that." Um, but yeah, good for Chris Wood. Good finish. Definitely an entertaining game for it being only a 1-0. I thought it was good from both teams. I feel a bit bad for Palace. Like I thought the game was pretty even for most parts. I think Forest had a bit of an edge just due to them being at home and having the crowd behind them in moments. And then as far as performances go, I did want to shout out Elliot Anderson. I thought he looked really good. He had a couple chances where he was able to get himself out of tight spaces with quick feet. And he just looked like he was really high on confidence. So that'll be something to monitor because I think Morgan Gibbs White was not playing due to him getting a red card in one of the past games. So it'll be interesting to see how if Nuno tries to fit Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs White into the same team moving forward because they both look like they are top players. So
Yeah, he had
those are
a
my thoughts from the game.
yeah, one of his crosses was really nice. He's like quick feet on the edge of the box, putting a really good ball to Chris Wood, who just couldn't quite finish it. I do think Dean Henderson definitely should have saved that. I personally think that was a big mistake. Yes, I understand him not being quite set, but he got a hand to it, and that's something you got to
Hmm.
save if you're a top keeper. And
Yeah.
then Eze, not looking great, but he came really close to scoring off of a really nice free kick. It was a can't remember who rolled it. Someone just rolled it to him from far outside the box. He took a touch and just smacked it. Sells made a great save to push onto the crossbar. But
Yeah.
yeah, as they just things are not going right for him so far this season.
Yeah. I feel bad. I feel like he's trying to do a bit of a carry job. And Ketia looked pretty decent from what I saw. Kind of just
Oh
be
yeah.
tidy across the park, but couldn't quite get on the end of many chances. And it just seems like Palace is really missing Michael Olise a lot. And another thing is they don't have, I don't know if it's their midfield is weak. I just feel like they just don't have someone that's kind of going to take over the game, kind of help things tick along. Like Eze is a great player, but he's very direct and not very, like, he doesn't offer a whole lot of control for the team. And I'm not really sure where they're getting that right now.
Yeah, speaking of Nketiah, he did a pretty tidy game. Like I said, not many chances. There was one move where he was on the sideline where he made a nice turn and was able to drive forward, and then he had one shot from outside the box. They kind of hit across the ball and it swerved wide, but it almost went to like upper 90. It almost was a really nice goal, barely missed. It would
Hmm.
have been it would have been a screamer if it went in. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate for Nketiah. I would have loved to have seen him get a sweet goal like that for his confidence.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, like
Is
I said, overall entertaining game from a neutral perspective. And I think Crystal Palace has been a little bit unlucky, but also they just might be in it for, like, I think we touched on this last time, but they might just be in for a bit of a rough season until they can kind of add some more reinforcements.
Yeah, speaking of the midfield, I think Decore is still out, and I think that might be something they're missing.
Because it seems like their two midfielders have a big job to do. Like their two holding midfielders, just with them playing, they play a three back and then they have like two wing backs, but those wing backs push pretty high and wide. And so I think there's a lot of responsibility on who was it? Will Hughes and Jeffrey Lerma or
Hmm.
Jefferson Lerma in the middle of the field. And I just think if they can get, I don't know what Adam Wharton's doing. I don't know if he was on the bench and get on the field or if he's hurt as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he wasn't playing.
Yeah, he was on the bench. So I guess I'm not sure why he's not playing because I think he's someone that helps in that regard. Maybe he doesn't have the physicality to play, like to do the tracking back and the
Yeah, he's not the most
more
athletic
physical
guy.
parts of the game.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully that's something that they're planning on and figuring out because there's a lot of talent on this team. Like Trevor Chalobah is a good defender, a good player. Maxwell LaCroix, good player. Mark Gahey, really good player. They've got Eze. Kamada is decent. I'm kind of disappointed by what I've seen from him this season when I've watched him. He just seems like he doesn't quite have that dog in him. Like he can pop up in like good spaces, but just I don't. Just seems kind of a mid player.
Yeah, I think they were expecting a lot more from that signing to provide to not replicate what Elise did, but to at least provide a lot more than what he's providing. He's definitely been a
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah, and then Nketiah I think has been fine, and then Ismail Assar I think was also supposed to be another big signing. He's like a really talented player, and I was hoping he would have made a little bit more of an impact. I'm not really sure why he's not starting. Maybe it's like a fit thing, or maybe he's just still trying to learn the system. But I thought he would be someone that would make a little bit more of an impact. But it just seems like things aren't really clicking, and Oliver Glasner's got a big job ahead of him to try and figure out how they can get some points because they're off to a rough start this season.
Yep. All things, all well said, and I agree with all those points. We'll see if Crystal Palace can turn it around because they need to.
But that's it for game week 7. Let's look ahead to or game week 8. Or I guess do you have any other thoughts to wrap up all the games this season or from this week?
No, I think we can move on to the preview for next weekend.
Nice. So preview for next weekend. Let's talk about the big one. It is Arsenal versus Liverpool. As an Arsenal fan, how are you feeling going into that match? What do you think is going to happen?
Not feeling great based off of how we looked this past weekend, how we looked against Shakhtar. And it really just depends on whether Saka's going to be back, in my opinion, because without having Odegaard, he's still out. We lose so much
Hmm.
creativity that Saka can fill and create tons for us. But if we're missing both Odegaard and Saka, I'm going to be really worried. We're also not going to have Saliba because of the red card.
Oh yeah.
And Ben White was subbed at halftime today. I don't know. He wasn't looking great. He's also been battling um, a niggle. He was out for 2 games a couple weeks ago, so battling a knock. So I'm hoping that's not like a reaggravation and
Hmm.
he can start. And I'm really hoping Timber's back because if we can start Timber right back, Ben White and Gabriel at center, and then Calafiore, who also went off today with a slight injury, uh, that would be a fine back for him. But if we're losing
Hmm.
Ben White, Saliba, potentially Calafiore too, and if Timber's not back, we're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
So a lot of news to come based off of the fitness of our defense, and that's going to really dictate how we look this weekend.
Yeah.
The fitness because Saka maybe 3 out of our 4 starting right defenders are out. I'm getting a little
Yeah.
nervous now that I'm talking through it.
Yeah. I was just like I forgot about Calafiore coming off injured. Hopefully that's not serious, but if it is and he's not able to start, it's gonna start to look thin. You're right, because uh yeah, you said Timber's still coming back from injury.
Yeah, he was out last weekend with an injury.
Yeah. So yeah, Timber, Calafiore, Saliba now out with suspension, and then I'm reading here that Arteta said, I mean, he might just be playing some mind games here, but he said Bukayo Saka is in quotes unlikely to be available for Liverpool on Sunday. He
Hmm.
hasn't trained. His exact words are he hasn't trained yet, so it's unlikely. But that would
Ugh.
be another big miss for Arsenal. So I guess hearing on that, what do you have for score prediction? Because it is going to be at the Emirates, I believe.
Yeah. If all those, I mean, it's impossible to decide if with the current
Yeah.
news. Say Saka's out and our defense is mostly healthy. We're just missing Saliba and say Ben White and
Hmm.
Calafiori. Okay, I'm gonna guess 0-0.
Okay. Nice. Keep it
I'm just
tight
think,
and just.
yeah, just keep it tight, which we're good at defending, and just do what we do and try not to concede. I don't. If Saka's out, I have a hard time, and we're missing multiple defenders. I have a hard time seeing us trying to create too much.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm just a little worried about that with no Saka.
Nice.
If Saka's there, and we have like most of our defenders, I think we'll win 2-1.
Nice. Nice. I think I like that. I like that prediction. I think without your players, yeah, I could see it ended up being like a 0-0, like just kind of keep things tight and don't concede and maybe struggle to create a little bit. So like I could see it. I don't really, it's hard to call, like you said, going either way. So I'm thinking a 0-0 or 1-0 type of deal, like kind of like a scrappy goal and then not many chances to go by. But I don't know. I'm hoping Saka makes like a late run, like starts training this week and is able to join or able to suit up for the game. And that
Mhm.
Arteta's just kind of being coy and trying to affect with or trying to mess with like the game planning.
Yeah.
And I think another interesting quote that I saw was Arteta said his Arsenal team, in quotes, will be flying when they face Liverpool. He said that after the match today. So he seems to have a lot of confidence going into the match, but
Okay.
it's really hard to call. If Saka plays, I agree with you, though. I think it would be like a 2-1 in favor of Arsenal.
Yeah, with a fully healthy team, I fully back us to win at home against Liverpool. But there's so many potential injuries, it's so hard to call.
Yep, I got you. Got anything else for that game?
Nope. Let's get your score predictions for United versus West Ham.
Yep. So United versus West Ham. West Ham is a team that I've kind of neglected to watch in detail. I thought that they would be a better team than they are coming into the season, but it just seems like they just aren't really putting things together. It seems like it's taken a while for them to mesh. So it is on the road at West Ham, but I do think that we are playing decently well right now. And if we can play like we played against Brentford, I could see us winning that game against West Ham. Um, Maybe like even 2-0. Like I just feel like their biggest threat is Mohamed Kudus, and
Hmm.
he's out. And then Fulkrug is also hurt, so that's another. I think not a key player for them yet, but I think someone that could hurt us, just because I feel like our defending in the box, off set pieces and stuff like that hasn't been the greatest, and he's someone that's like pretty scrappy when it comes to those situations. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with, 2-0 in favor of United. I think we keep our defensive record showing pretty well and kind of can come out and create some good chances against them. Not going to blow them out, but I think a 2-0, maybe like 1-0 for most of the game, and maybe like a later goal in the game to kind of seal the win type of deal.
Nice. I'm pretty confident in a United win for you guys. I like what I'm seeing from United based off this past weekend, and West Ham just don't look good. If it was at home for you, I'm tempted to go 2-0 as well with it, especially because Kudus is out, who like you said is their main threat. Because it's away, I'm going to go 2-1 to United, but I think you guys do get it done against West Ham. I think it's a very winnable game. It'll be interesting to see how the midweek goes, if that affects your confidence going into the weekend. But I do expect United to get a win against West Ham.
Yeah, agreed. I'm really interested to see who's available for us and how it goes, but I do think it's a very winnable game, a game we should win. So that's basically what I'm
Hmm.
expecting is a win. But the way United are, it's really hard to tell how that's going to happen. Anything could really happen in those games, to be honest.
Yep. Yep.
Let's see. And then the last game we wanted to talk about in preview, probably not the biggest game of the week. The biggest game of the weekend is Arsenal Liverpool, but the next biggest is probably Chelsea versus Newcastle. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, don't think Newcastle have been great. They might play up to their competition a little bit this weekend, but I think Chelsea are going to win 3-1. I think it's at home for Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I think Chelsea have been
Hmm.
looking good. I don't trust them to keep a clean sheet. Even though Newcastle haven't looked great, they've got Isak, they got Gordon. I do think they will get a goal, but I think Chelsea will score multiple goals against Newcastle, who don't look great defensively. So I'm going 3-1 to Chelsea.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a really good shout. I think 3-1 might be the perfect scoreline as well. I think Chelsea's attack is going to be firing, and Newcastle's looked pretty susceptible to letting goals in. And I do agree that I think Isak and Anthony Gordon, like they've got enough danger in their team that they're going to be able to get one in. And so I think this game is going to I don't even know if it really depends on who scores first. I feel like some games can kind of be tipped on that, like if Newcastle can go up early and kind of just defend. But I think it's going to be one of those games where Chelsea's attack is just too much for Newcastle, and Newcastle ends up losing at Stamford Bridge on the road.
Yeah, I feel like Newcastle's just too open, and even if they do score first, I don't think they will defend in a low block or that they're good enough to do that. I could see Chelsea scoring more than three as well, but it's hard to call more
Hmm.
than three against like a overall like good team like Newcastle. Not great,
Yeah,
not that they're in form, but they're good enough to not concede more than three. But it could be high. Could Chelsea could score more than that if Newcastle are really open this weekend and
yeah,
Cole Palmer as a heater.
yeah, exactly. I could see a Cole Palmer bounce back game, or at least that's what I'm hoping for because I moved early for him in
Oh, did you?
FPL. So Well, I moved early for him like a couple weeks ago, but
Oh, you're right. You're right.
the whole idea behind it was that he keeps scoring goals and his price keeps going up, so I can farm a little bit of value in before people start moving for him in game week 12 when their fixtures turn a
Hmm.
little bit. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a Cole Palmer haul, which is weird to say that I'm rooting for Chelsea in any sort of capacity, but that's the day and age that we are in. It's life of an
Yeah.
FPL player.
Yeah. Last thing before we get off, any other thoughts on your moves this week or fantasy?
Um, I need to look at them in more detail. I'm wondering if I should start rolling some transfers and uh, stacking some stuff up to see if I can make some bigger moves. It'll be really just contingent on Saka's health.
Yep.
I don't want to transfer him out, but I think if he's going to keep not playing, that's a lot of value I've got tied up in him with my bench players not being the strongest. Um, so I think I'm probably going to move Saka out of my team if he's definitely not going to play. Or if he is, I'm going to try and find a way to maybe replace Ahmad while he looks like he's kind of fallen out of favor. He was like a nice little differential to have in our team. But if I could find a way to free up enough money to maybe even go to Garnacho and move early on a United asset, I think I might do that because our fixtures are pretty good right now.
Hmm.
It's just we haven't been consistent enough to be scoring goals, but I do think that the goals are going to start coming. And I think just the way, like we talked about earlier, but the way Garnacho's shooting, like he's going to be involved in a lot of what we do and a lot of our goals. So that's where my head's at right now, but we'll see. What about
Yeah, I
you?
think that could be. I think that could be a great move, getting Garnacho early. I've heard like one content creator start talking about him. I think there's going to be a move towards Garnacho. You guys keep looking good, so you should get in on him early. I think a lot of people will start moving towards Garnacho because he is at that cheaper price point, and like you said, like we talked about, getting so many shots off, and can score goals too. For me, it really just depends on Saka. If he's healthy, I'm gonna roll my transfer. I've taken a hit the past 2 weekends, which both paid off, or at least last this past week I didn't lose any points. It was a good move for me to take the hit for Henderson to Pickford, which I'm happy with. But I would like to roll. But if Saka is injured, I would love to go to KDB if he's healthy for the home game against Southampton, even
Oh
though,
yeah.
like we talked about, City haven't looked good. Southampton are terrible. They gift you goals. That's why I captained Saka 2 weeks ago, which paid off big time. So I'd love to bring in De Bruyne when no one else has him if he is healthy. But the hard thing is a Friday deadline. This week we've got a Friday game, which makes it really hard to
Mm.
get any like leaked lineups or anything, or get early injury news. And it's
Oh
for
yeah.
both Saka being injured and De Bruyne being healthy. So it's gonna be really hard to make that call.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah, and
Hmm.
Arsenal play on Sunday, so it's going to be like
Yep.
really far away.
And you know
Mm.
Arteta's gonna give us nothing. So it's gonna be a really
Yeah,
hard
exactly.
last minute late decision on what I do with Saka.
Fair enough. A lot to think about, a lot to consider, but I do really like
Hmm.
that shout to a KDB or a City asset against Southampton. See if
Yep.
they can haul. Gotcha. Nice. Any more thoughts to round out the pod?
Nope, that's all. Hoping for a better weekend. Hoping these injuries for Arsenal turn out to be nothing serious, and we have a healthy team and are flying like Arteta said we will be on Sunday against Liverpool.
Yeah, I hope you guys are as well. Honestly, I would love to see Liverpool humbled at least a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they're a good team, but I do think their points are overperforming their actual performance as a squad right now. They just have quality players that can kind of fill those gaps. So
Yeah,
I would love to see you guys humble them.
same. Riley's been a little overconfident recently in the group
Oh
chat,
no.
so he does need to be humbled. So for my
Yeah.
sake and for Sam's sake, we're dying for Liverpool and Riley to be humbled this weekend.
Nice. I would love to see that. I can't wait to see the banter,
Yep.
regardless of what happens.
Yep.
I got
Yeah.
you. All
So
right. Well, we
big
will.
weekend.
I got you. Definitely big weekend. But we'll wrap it up there. We're recording on Tuesday, so we got some Champions League still to go this week, some Europa League, so a lot of footy to watch, and then a lot more footy to watch this weekend. Looking forward to it. But thank you guys for joining. We will catch you in the next one.
See everyone, enjoy the games.